Well, hi, Ryu.
Oh, hi.
How's it going? How's your sex life?
It's doing all right. I know this one girl. She slept with 100 guys, and then one guy found out, and he found her and beat her up so bad that she got hospitalized.
What a story, Ryu. It seems like you're the expert, Ryu.
I may be.
That's it. I'm fed up with this world.
Pulls out a gun, shoots in mouth. Blood come out from the mouth.
All right. So if you guys don't know what we're doing, we're quoting the lines from the 2003 cult classic movie, The Room, which is the movie that we're going to be reviewing this episode, along with the movie that's based on the making of it,
The Disaster Artist
from 2017. So before we talk about the movie, let me just give you guys a little bit of context. So this movie, The Room, was written and directed by this mysterious guy named Tommy Wiseau. And so in 2002, Tommy Wiseau gathers a crew of filmmakers, of film professionals, some actors, and his best friend, Greg Sestero, for them to make his script, The Room, into a movie.
And fun fact, this guy is not known at all. We don't know his actual real name because he goes by a different name.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know his age. We don't know where he's from. We don't even know what year he is born.
Exactly. So this guy's shrouded in mystery. We don't really know anything about his personal life or his childhood or anything. But what we do know, a lot of what we know, is thanks to the book that's written by his co-star and friend Greg Sestero. The book is called The Disaster Artist, which came out in 2013, 10 years after the
movie actually came out.
Yeah, 10 years after the movie actually came out, and so a lot of what we know about this guy Tommy Wiseau is thanks to Greg Sestero. So The Room gets released in 2003, and it's shown in one theater for 2 consecutive weeks because Tommy Wiseau wanted the movie to qualify for that year's Oscars. And so the movie comes out. It really doesn't it doesn't make a big splash. It doesn't get any recognition of any type. But Tommy Wiseau just continuously is re-releasing the movie in theaters. But Tommy Wiseau just constantly keeps the movie playing in different theaters, trying to build an audience. And then it isn't until years later, thanks in part to through just word of mouth of people living in LA and people who work in the film industry learning about this movie, that the movie starts to get a reputation as a so bad it's good movie, which is not the original intent of Tommy Wiseau. He was originally intending on making a serious dark drama about the failure of a relationship. So the movie gains this cult following about being a so bad it's good movie, and so it gets written about in articles. People on the internet start to take notice. People are reviewing it on their YouTube channels, and the movie The Room actually gets shown on television for 3 consecutive years through Adult Swim, which is the way that I discovered The Room. I remember tuning in one night on Adult Swim, seeing this weird ass movie playing on Adult Swim. I originally thought that the satellite signal got scrambled or something, and so instead of Adult Swim, I was watching like maybe Skinamax or some kind of one of those porn channels. And I was thinking like, oh, sweet, we got a porno. All right, let's do this, boys. Pass the lotion. And I was actually convinced that it was a porno because very early on in the movie, the 2 main characters have sex. But then I realized that the movie, that the channel started cutting to black. So I was like,
oh no.
Is it going back to Adult Swim? No, keep the porno going. But no, it was an April Fool's joke that Adult Swim was doing because the people working at Adult Swim were fans of the movie, and even in the commercials they had Tommy Wiseau presenting the movie, like talking about the movie, and I was sort of like thinking to myself, whoa, this is an actual movie? How come I never heard about this? Because at the time I didn't really know the difference between like say like a big studio movie and an independent movie. That's how I begin to learn about The Room. And then I even become more of a fan of The Room when I see like people like the Nostalgia Critic do their review of The Room, and then we start to learn a little bit about The Room, the production behind it. We learn a little bit about the creator, the director, Tommy Wiseau. We even get to see Tommy Wiseau being kind of an a-hole with people online because he copyright strikes a lot of people's reviews of the movie. So he's an interesting character.
Wait, so are we in danger because he might copyright strike us?
No, because we're not using clips of his movie.
Ah, okay, good.
Because the thing about The Room is that especially with like the Nostalgia Critic, have you ever seen any of the Nostalgia Critic's reviews?
No.
So the Nostalgia Critic, what he does is that he goes beat by beat and he explains the plot of the movie and he makes jokes along the way. And so because that's the way that he makes his videos, he shows
some clips of the movie.
Clips. And so Tommy Wiseau got angry at him, accusing him of copyright infringement. But anyway, so that's how I basically learned about The Room. So I became a fan through that experience. And so this is the first time I've ever shown The Room to Ryu. And so you, my lovely co-host, what was your initial thoughts about this comedy cult masterpiece?
That's what I thought.
Oh, fuck.
Me going, and oh god, what is this? Because when I first started watching this, honestly, it was too much. The cringe level of watching this was so much I could not handle it. My co-host enjoys watching it because he gone through the struggles of how to make a movie and all that. For me, who hasn't tried anything like that at all, I just see it as a very, very, very uncomfortable movie to try to watch.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because, like, yeah, I do have like some experience, taking film classes and just like meeting up with people to like work on like short films and other kinds of projects like this. And so I've seen like firsthand how like amateur filmmaking can sometimes go wrong, and how sometimes when you're trying to make something that people will enjoy, or if you're trying to express something that you want to express artistically through a film and it doesn't quite turn out the way that you wanted to, like I have like a lot of empathy for somebody like a Tommy Wiseau, because I get what he's trying to do, but he just doesn't have the right stuff to make it. You know what I mean? Also The Room. And so also, I don't think that The Room is like the worst movie ever made. I feel like there's probably even worse movies made than The Room. They just never been released ever. They're probably just like on somebody's hard drive, just like not ever going to be released. Because, because again, like the reason why The Room became so popular is because Tommy Wiseau, he's independently wealthy. He has enough money to promote the movie, to rent out theaters to show the movie. He even paid for a billboard, which I think was up for like 8 years in Los Angeles. And so he was every month he was paying for this billboard advertising his movie. And so he just never stopped. I'm pretty sure he's proud of the movie that he made.
And the most thing everyone say, wait, if he's an independent person and he has so much money, how is he making that money? Everyone doesn't know.
No.
Well, he does have some buildings that he rents out, right?
So the thing is like even Greg Sestero in his book, The Disaster Artist, he doesn't have like a clear answer of why or how or why Tommy is so ridiculously rich. I have a theory. Greg in his book, he talks about like how Tommy, when he moved to San Francisco, he started working in retail. Like he would so originally Tommy started off working as like one of those guys who's in the piers, and he was selling like souvenirs, like magnets, t-shirts, like one of those shops. So he had one of those shops early on in his time in San Francisco. And then later he ended up having his own clothing stores in San Francisco. A store called Street Fashions USA, where he would sell like bootleg jeans and like cheap imported clothes from like Asia. And so he was doing very well for himself. But I think the reason why he probably has a lot of money is because of real estate. He probably owns a lot of property and he rents out these properties to people, and he's probably just making like all this income monthly. So that's probably how he made like a lot of his money.
Interesting. Interesting man. Yeah. He's a man of mystery.
Yeah, and so the room was kind of like his big dream. His big dream was to become a movie star, and so he meets up with the writer of the book, The Disaster Artist, Greg Sestero, in a San Francisco acting school. They get together. Greg becomes fascinated by Tommy and his confidence, even though Tommy isn't like performing well in the class. He's inspired by his confidence in how he carries himself on stage, and so these two form a friendship. Greg also has the dream of becoming an actor, and because of the help of Tommy, he's able to live in Tommy's apartment, and he's able to pursue his dream of being an actor. And Greg initially finds a little bit of success in acting. He actually books a role in a horror movie called Retro Puppet Master. Now this movie is straight to DVD, but it's an opportunity. It's experience for him. And but unfortunately after that his career starts going downhill, where he isn't booking that many TV roles or movie roles, and his career sort of like plateaus. And Tommy, on the other hand, he can't get his foot in the door. Nobody wants to hire Tommy because he looks and acts so weird. And so through desperation, he writes this movie. He writes the movie The Room. Now, originally, did you know that The Room was actually not supposed to be a movie? It was supposed to be a play.
A play? Really?
Yeah, because that's where the title The Room comes from. The Room was originally supposed to be a play, and it was all going to take place in one room.
Huh.
And that's where the title The Room comes from. So Tommy writes this movie, and he's able to gather up a crew, and he's able to gather up some actors, and they start shooting it. Now, Tommy does a lot of things wrong. Like, for example, one of the things that he does is that he buys the equipment that he's going to use to shoot the movie. Now, normally in film productions, you don't normally buy your equipment. You rent your equipment from somebody because oftentimes cameras, microphones, lights, all of that stuff becomes obsolete within a year because because movie cameras are always constantly getting better and better. Lenses are getting better and better. So, and cameras are also movie quality cameras are extremely expensive. To get that quality of image is very expensive. Like these cameras cost like over like $10,000, $100,000. It's a lot of money to own these cameras. So that's why normally you don't buy a camera, you rent it. But Tommy, because he doesn't know any better, he decides to buy all of this equipment, and he ends up spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in buying the equipment. Also, one of the big mistakes that he makes is that he buys two different cameras, one digital and one film camera. Now, at the time, I don't know if you know this, at the time, shooting movies on 35 millimeter film was the standard for Hollywood and for television. And then shooting digital was a brand new thing. Not a lot of production shot on digital. Maybe like news broadcast or something like that. They would shoot on digital, but not like professional movies. But it was a brand new technology. So the quality of the film would look better than the quality of digital video. But Tommy didn't know that. He thought that he was being a pioneer in shooting in both formats. But no, he was just being a dick.
And dumbass, but he doesn't really care because he had infinite money.
Yeah.
So if he lost money, he will get that money back somehow because
exactly. And
he didn't care.
And so he was even able to get like some industry professionals to work on his movie. Like like a lot of the crew that worked behind the scenes, like the cameraman, who was a man named Raphael Smadja. He even had an assistant director slash script supervisor named Sandy Schler, who worked on many TV shows. He even worked on a show that you're probably familiar. Have you ever heard of that Nickelodeon show, Super Ninjas? Or do you remember?
The heck is Super Ninjas?
Oh, you don't remember Super Ninjas?
Hold on, let me. Hey Siri, what is Super Ninjas?
9 inches is 0.7.
Siri's dumb. All right, explain it. Explain it.
So,
What's Super Ninjas?
So Super Ninjas was this action sitcom on Nickelodeon. It was about like a kid who has like these two friends, and they're kind of like ninja, like undercover ninjas, and like the leader of their group is the main kid's grandfather. It was a weird show, but apparently the guy who was the script supervisor, Sandy Schler, he later went on to work on that Nickelodeon show. I only mention it because I thought you would have known it, because like that was kind of like, that show was kind of like our time. That show came out when we were like younger. Yeah. So Tommy.
Okay, so I searched it out. There's multiple Super Ninjas. There's Super Ninjas wrestling. American Pro Wrestler video game.
Look up the Nickelodeon show. It's a Nickelodeon show.
Super Ninjas Nickelodeon. Super Ninjas Nickelodeon TV series. Is that one?
Yeah, that's the one. There should be only one.
Super Ninjas. Yeah, I see it. High school students in a play. Yeah, I never seen this. What the hell?
Yeah, it was like 2011, I want to say, that when that show came out.
I can find the year. Original release, January 17, 2011. It finished at April 27, 2013. Only one season, no second season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was one of those. But yeah, so Tommy, so the point I'm trying to make is like Tommy actually had some like industry professionals working on his movie, and they were able to bring some level of quality to the actual filmmaking, and a level of professionalism that probably somebody like a Tommy Wiseau would probably never have had if he made this movie with just amateurs. So the movie gets made, and the movie's released, and it never gets any kind of like notoriety. But it isn't until years later when the movie is rediscovered through word of mouth, through the internet, and then I would say like Adult Swim, and then like those movie reviews by like people like the Nostalgia Critic or the YouTube channel I Hate Everything, and then like all the other hundreds of YouTube channels that have already talked about this movie.
Fun fact, I just want to play it out. When this movie was recreated, I was not even existent yet.
Well, yeah, because this was like the early 2000s. So the movie was like being shot. Well, the movie was being written somewhere around like 2001, and then it was being shot 2002, and then finally comes out 2003. I was about 8 years old when the movie came out. When the movie originally came out. But I was much older when I discovered the movie on Adult Swim. I was probably maybe 13, 14, I think. Yeah, I was probably like 13 when I discovered it.
I wasn't even existing to this world yet. I wasn't even created yet.
Yeah.
I wasn't even sent to this world.
Yeah, because this one's kind of like a modern cult classic, because this movie kind of gets compared to like the movies of like Ed Wood. Have you ever heard of the filmmaker Ed Wood?
No. Does he have a lot of wood?
What the fuck? No, he's one of these guys who they call him like the world's worst movie director. And he directed like a series of movies in the 1950s that were very poorly received. But nowadays, a lot of people find him interesting, or they find his movies interesting.
He's a film director?
Yeah, he's a film director. Ed Wood.
Edward Jr.?
Yeah, Edward
film director.
Jr. Yeah.
Edward Jr. is known for his films making Bride of the Monster and Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yeah,
called
that's
one of
the
the
one.
best film ever made. Became a camp classic.
Yeah, he became a cult classic director. They later made a movie about his directing. Tim Burton made a movie called Ed Wood, and he got Johnny Depp to play Edward D. Wood Jr. In the movie. And yeah, so Tommy Wiseau often gets compared to this guy, and And yeah, so let's get into The Room. Let's talk a little bit about what The Room is about. So The Room, so it's kind of hard to explain the plot of The Room because the plot of The Room is very inconsistent. It has a lot of continuity and plot holes.
Clothing items on them,
makeup effects,
everything.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to describe The Room, but I'm going to describe it in the best way that I can. So The Room is the story of Johnny and Lisa, who are engaged to each other
for 7 years.
So they're engaged, but Lisa, however, she falls out of love with Johnny and starts having an affair with his best friend Mark. We don't know a lot about Mark other than the fact that he's Johnny's best friend and that he sleeps with Lisa. So the movie's basically about that. It kind of revolves around this love triangle, and
technically this love triangle is like Mark loves Lisa, but Lisa doesn't love Mark, but Lisa likes Johnny. Yeah, but Johnny doesn't
I'm trying to describe it in a way that isn't so complicated. We don't want to confuse the audience.
Okay,
just yet.
Understood. Sorry.
So the movie basically revolves around this love triangle, and a lot of the scenes. It's kind of hard to describe the movie because a lot of the scenes don't really add much to the plot of the movie, because you'll have scenes that where Lisa talks to a character and she tells these characters, "Hey, I'm not in love with Johnny anymore." And then they'll try to convince her, "No, stay with Johnny." And then you'll have scenes where Johnny and Lisa are acting as a couple, making love. Then you'll have scenes where Mark and Lisa have sex together, and then you will have scenes like a drug dealer comes to their building to collect money from this other character who's connected to Johnny and Lisa, and it's a whole big confusing mess of a movie. And it's really hard to describe what the movie is about, because it's just weird. It takes you for a ride.
And that's why I played the clip from the beginning. It went me going because it's so confusing. It goes to one scene and then a random scene of that just comes right in. No part of the movie whatsoever. It has no reason to be there. It's just there. And there's a lot of stuff that just made no sense to me when we were watching it, because he goes to a shop and say, "Oh, I didn't know it was you, Mark. You're my favorite customer." How can you not recognize this Mark? He has that big hairstyle, the weird clothing wearing.
The sunglasses.
The sunglasses. How can you not recognize that guy?
He looks like a cast member of Pirates of the Caribbean.
But the one thing good about that one scene was the dog. The dog was the best actor.
Oh, hi, doggy.
Oh, hi, doggy. The dog was best actor 2020.
But also, did you notice how weird the dialogue is? Because he walks in and he's like, "Oh, hi, can I get a dozen red roses?" And then the lady was like, "Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you." It was like, what the hell? And it's like, "Yeah, that's me. Keep the change. Hi, doggy. You're my favorite customer." It's like, who talks like that? Come on. That makes no sense whatsoever.
No sense at all. And that's what makes my brain wants to go explode.
Well, yeah, for you, I can see the humor behind that because, one, that's not the way regular humans talk. Two, that's not the way you, if you go into, a store, that's not, the way that they're going to interact with you.
It's basically just "Oh, hi, how can I help you? Oh, do you find anything you were looking for?
Yeah.
Okay. Have a nice day."
Yeah, and it's so weird because also the scene has nothing to do with the movie. The only thing that it establishes is that he's buying roses for Lisa. That's it. There really is no point in showing that. You could have just shown Johnny showing up to the apartment with the red roses, and we as audiences would instantly get, "Oh, he went to a flower shop. He bought her roses."
Yeah.
That's it. It's those are the scenes in a script that you would cut out because they're not needed. And it's God damn it, Wiseau, you are so incompetent. And there's just a lot of scenes that don't make sense. Things happen in the room that are never brought up again. Like, for example, my favorite scene in the movie, the drug deal scene, Chris R. So let me explain what happens in the scene. So this scene opens up with Denny, this character who is kind of sort of like an adopted son to the main character, Johnny. Johnny pays for his college tuition. He takes care of him. He hangs out with him. So he's sort of like a surrogate father to this kid. So he's on the roof, he's dribbling a basketball, and it's revealed that there is a drug dealer coming up to the roof, and his name is Chris R. Why is his name Chris R? We don't know.
Because he cursed a lot of R's.
Oh shit, no. Yeah, so this drug dealer, Chris R, he comes in and he starts intimidating Denny, saying, Where's my money, Denny? And Denny's like, oh, it'll be here. Give me 5 minutes. And he's like, I don't have 5 fucking minutes. And he grabs Denny by the neck and he starts pointing his gun like to his temple. And he's like, where's my money, Denny? Where's my fucking money? And he just keeps repeating the same thing over and over again. It's like, dude, are you going to beat the shit out of him? Are you going to shoot him or what? What's your game plan?
Because regularly, if that situation happens, if you don't have money of the drug dealer or whatever person your game gain drugs from, they want their money right there and then.
Yeah.
No shady shit, no nothing. If you don't have the money there and then, they're gonna show an example, kill you, break one of your bones, whatever it said. If he was in a situation and it was normal, he would have just shot him, walked away, and just come back and get the money from his family when they go to grieve for him.
Exactly. So it really doesn't make any sense because also the character Chris R, he doesn't give Denny a chance to like go get the money.
Yeah, he just pins him down. Like, where's my fucking money? You better get my money right now.
Because here's the thing. Because in a normal movie, if this was an intimidation scene, yes, he would intimidate Denny. He would like maybe pretend to shoot him, or he would just threaten him, saying, "Hey, if you don't get my money by the end of the day today, I'm gonna shoot your fucking brains out." And then the next scene, and then the next few scenes would be about like Denny trying to get the money. Because that's the way that scene would play out normally, and that's like a way to play the scene out so that people understand what's going on. But this scene just comes out of nowhere. Nowhere before this do they ever indicate that Denny is like addicted to drugs or like selling drugs. Because if they wanted this scene to make sense, early on in the movie, they would have maybe had a scene showing Denny maybe taking some drugs, maybe getting involved with drugs or something. You know, because that's what a good director, what a good writer would have done. He would have set up this before, and then that's how a scene like that would make sense. But no, the scene ends with Denny being saved by Johnny and Mark, wrestling the drug dealer, wrestling the drug dealer off of Denny and taking his gun away. But didn't you find it weird that the drug dealer, he goes down way too quickly and way too easily?
It was way too quick. He's a big buff guy. If you've seen the original movie, he's a big buff guy.
Yeah.
He would take a long ass time to get someone like him down.
Exactly. Because like that actor that they got, he's like a 6 foot tall guy. He's got muscles. He's very intimidating. Even though he's just an actor, like in real life, that guy would put up a fight. Like he would try to like shoot Johnny and Mark. And he wouldn't go down as easily, but they handle him like he's nothing, and they take him away really quickly, and then they take him downstairs really quickly, and then they come back upstairs even quicker, and then it's like, did you guys just take him down to the police station? Was there already a cop downstairs? What's going on here? It makes like very little logical sense.
It does.
Yeah, and
that's why the fans think that Mark, fuck, I'm gonna mess up the names. The one, his best friend.
Yeah, so Mark is the best friend. Johnny is the guy with the long hair. So what my co-host is trying to tell you is that there's a fan theory that Mark is a undercover police officer, because in the scene, in the Chris R scene, he mentions. He says that it's all clear, and all clear is a term that's used by police officers. And in the first scene that we see Mark in is a scene where he's sitting in a car almost like he's on a stakeout. And then also, because they get rid of Chris R so fast, a lot of people think that Mark is a police officer because he has connections to the police.
Mm-hmm.
so they're able to like get rid of a criminal really quickly. But also, what I think the reason why like that scene is there is because I think, well, so in the book, The Disaster Artist, Greg Sestero says that that Johnny wrote this scene because he wanted to write a scene about drugs, about like how drugs are ruining society. And he also speculated that Johnny maybe wanted to write a scene where he has like a big hero moment where he saves Denny from death. So, and originally that scene was supposed to be a lot more crazy because the scene was going to include the character Chris R shooting his gun in the air and the gun falling out of his hand and falling off of the roof. And Tommy Wiseau really wanted to make this as epic as possible. But one of the things that happened during the filming of that scene is that a lot of the crew members got uncomfortable with the idea of firearms being shot because of the way that the production was going. The production was being very well.
It was being very sloppy made.
Everything was being very sloppily made. A lot of things were being done not in a professional way, and so when you start to include guns to a scene, that could only spell trouble, because if the set is not being run professionally, putting in an element that's dangerous and that could potentially hurt or kill somebody, that's just a recipe for disaster. And also, the owner of the building that they were shooting on refused to let Tommy shoot a firearm on his property. So he basically probably saved a life there, because who knows what could have happened. So that's what happened with that scene. But also, there's just like all these weird ass scenes. There was like this one weird. Well, there's two weird scenes. There's one scene where like these two random characters, who we later find out is Lisa's best friend and her boyfriend, they sneak into Johnny and Lisa's apartment to make out and have sex.
They had no purpose to be there.
Exactly.
Like, these new characters just showed up out of nowhere. We don't know nothing about them, and then later on we find out they're going in and out. They're both Lisa's and Mark's friend, and they're just sneaking into their apartment having sex.
Yeah, and also like the Lisa's mom, she has like a break the fourth wall moment, because when Lisa and
she's just like, "Why are these characters doing here?"
Yeah, she calls them characters, almost like she's commenting on the movie, like what's happening in the movie right then. She has like a little fourth wall break.
Fourth wall break and a fourth wall break. That's like 16 walls.
Oh my God, shut the fuck up, Deadpool.
I'm sorry, I love Deadpool.
All right, and then later, this scene gets referenced in a later scene where Johnny meets up with the guy, Mike, the guy who got caught, and he's telling Johnny, "Hey, Johnny, I got like this tragedy, this problem. I got caught in your in your apartment making out with Michelle, my girlfriend, and your mother-in-law found my underwear." And then Johnny, he's like a fucking weirdo. He's like, "Haha, that's life."
That's life. Oh my God.
It's like he's not pissed, he's not annoyed, he doesn't have like a reaction that a normal human being would actually have.
It's just like he has no expectations of what actual life is. It's like he never touched outside at all.
Yeah.
It's like he has never touched actual grass before.
Yeah, it's like, and it just seems like Johnny Tommy Wiseau maybe doesn't have that many life experiences, so he's like just coming up with stuff on the fly that he thinks that normal people do, and it's like, what the fuck, man? But yeah, there was another scene that was really confusing. Oh shit, let me grab my let me gather my thoughts. What was the scene? Oh, the tuxedo scene.
Oh my God! Okay, can I explain this one?
Yeah, explain the tuxedo.
Okay, so in this scene, it starts off. It starts off for three guys getting all their tuxedo on. It starts off with Mark. Am I right? Or
so the characters in the scene are Johnny, Denny, Johnny's psychiatrist friend Peter.
All right.
And then finally Mark comes in.
Yeah, and for some strange reason, the camera just pans right in Mark's face.
Yeah.
Like, oh god, his beard is gone. Oh, his sideburns, beard is all gone. Mustache
Yeah, he
too.
shaved.
Like he shaved out. Oh my god! But they made it so like they zoom into his face,
It's
showing that it's gone.
It's like a character reveal. It's kind of like in the Lord of the Rings, like when they reveal when like a character who died in the previous movie, he comes back in the next movie. It kind of felt like that. It kind of felt like they were doing like a big reveal, but all Mark did was just shave off his beard, because throughout the whole movie up until that point, Mark's face was he had a beard on his face. And they do this cringy ass like zoom in to the character.
Yeah, you, my co-host knows. I was like, "What the heck they did that for?" I yelled, saying, "What the hell? They do that? They had no reason of doing so."
And apparently, the reason why Tommy Wiseau wanted to do that is because later in the scene, he calls Mark a baby face, and that's why he wanted to put that in the movie. He wanted to just call his friend Greg a baby face on camera. He says, "Yeah, you look like Babyface.
You look like Babyface, yeah."
And then the scene ends with all the guys playing football, because Denny, the kid, he wanted to play football in their fucking tuxes.
Like, who plays tuxes in expensive ass tuxedos? Like, come on, who plays football for that?
Exactly, and they don't even have a reason why they're in tuxedos. Early on in the scene, Denny mentions, "Oh, Johnny, you're gonna look so great for your wedding photo." Are they taking the photos for the wedding? Are they gonna do a dress rehearsal? Like, what's this for? And but they all show up in their tuxedos. Like, what the fuck? And then they go out and play football, and you know what's the best part about that scene? How they get Peter to join in to the football game. Like all
chicken.
Yeah, he's like throughout the whole movie, they're always doing this thing where like they pretend to be chickens, and then like, "You're just a little chicken, cheep, cheep, cheep,
Oh,
cheep,
cheep. Now,
Yeah, they're like cheep, 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 cheep. Yeah, and then they have this weird ass scene where they run out to an alley and they're throwing the football around, and then one of the characters falls down, Peter, and yeah, it's like, and then Denny's like, "Boy, gee, Peter, you're very clumsy." And that's the scene.
That was it. It had no reason to be there. I thought it was gonna progress on the story, but it did not progress the story. It made me hella more confused than I already am.
The only reason that scene exists is because Tommy Wiseau wanted to tell Greg, "You look like a baby face."
Really? That's it? That's the
it.
reason?
Because actually in real life, I don't know if I've mentioned this already, Tommy Wiseau, the director, and Greg Sestero, the actor who plays Mark, are best friends in real life. And one of the nicknames that Tommy Wiseau would call Greg Sestero was Babyface. And so I guess he just wanted to call his friend the name that he calls him in real life. He's like, you look Babyface.
You look like Babyface, my friend. Why you have Babyface? You need to drink more. It brings man into you.
And so let's talk about like the ending of the movie. So the movie, after all of these pointless scenes go throughout the movie, we finally get the ending. The climax of the movie actually takes place at a surprise birthday party for Johnny, which was organized by Lisa. But during these scenes, Lisa lets it slip that she and Mark are having this affair together, and she even makes out with Mark in front of Johnny. Johnny, he gets pissed. He's like, what going on here? And then he and Mark get into like a fucking cat fight. Like, there's even a scene where Johnny pushes Mark so much that the actual actor falls like on his ass, and he hits his head on the door. Like, that was
actually real?
Yeah, that was actually real. They didn't intend, like he wasn't supposed to fall. Johnny, the character Johnny, was just supposed to push him away, but Greg Sestero was surprised of how much force Tommy Wiseau pushed him with, that he fell over. And yeah, so that was actually like a real kind of like unseen result of being pushed real hard. So yeah, so Johnny discovers that Lisa is cheating on him. He has like a big tantrum. He starts destroying his apartment. And after he's done destroying his apartment, he finds the dress that he bought Lisa at the beginning of the movie. He starts to like sniff it and like caress it on him. He even like pretends to like hump it for like a little bit. And while he's doing that, the movie starts like doing like little flashbacks to scenes that we already saw. And then finally, Johnny just gets fed up with it all and he fucking shoots himself in the mouth.
And one thing is, when you shoot someone someone shoots themselves in the mouth, you don't get blood in the face or front of the shirt at all. Just the back.
Yeah, the back of the head. But the way that the movie shows it is that Johnny has like blood on the corner of his mouth. He has some blood on his shirt, which is not consistent to the kind of trauma that he would face, the physical trauma that he would have by shooting himself in the mouth. So the movie ends with Lisa and Mark discovering Johnny's dead body. And also Denny runs into the room, and I mentioned this to you while we were watching it. Denny was the only character who truly loved Johnny.
Yep, I can tell that he was the only character that loved him.
Because he's the only one who appreciated Johnny, because like a lot of the characters only like Johnny because he was helpful to him, and because also Johnny is wealthy, so he could probably get them out of like, you know,
any situation,
kind of like any situations that they got in. But I think the character Denny was the only character that that really truly loved Johnny, and so the movie ends with that scene. And yeah, so like I said, so the movie comes out in 2003. It really doesn't get any buzz or any word of mouth. It doesn't win any awards, and it just kind of just exists for many years. Tommy Wiseau constantly plays it in the same theater for years and years. And then people who work in television and people who work in Hollywood start to notice the movie. They become fans of it. And it starts getting noticed. And it gets noticed so much that it plays on Adult Swim. The movie starts getting popular in the internet. And then finally, around 2013, the actor who played Greg, he wrote his book, The Disaster Artist. And the book came out in 2013. And this book basically tells the story of the making of The Room and a little bit about Greg Sestero's childhood. And let me talk a little bit about Greg Sestero as a person before we move on to the movie based on his book. So Greg Sestero he was born in Walnut Creek, California, which is actually not far from where we're at right now.
Yeah, actually, he lived around here?
Yeah, he was born in Walnut Creek, California. I think he grew up in Danville, California, which is actually a little bit farther from where we are, but not too far. So he basically grew up in the suburbs of Northern California. When he was a child, when he was like 12 years old, he saw the original Home Alone on Christmas Day, 1990, and he fell in love with that movie. That was like his movie. That was kind of like, like his Star Wars, or like his, like, I don't know, his Marvel movie. Like that was the movie that he loved as a child, and that inspired him to become an actor. But unfortunately, Greg Sestero, he didn't get like a lot of support from his family, especially his mom. His mom,
no, he did not.
His mom, who is French, who is a French immigrant, she didn't believe that acting was a good career choice because she thought that, he was going to struggle a lot. He wasn't going to get a lot of opportunities, and that a lot of people who work in entertainment are just like, people who cheat, who lie, who steal. So she didn't have like a good opinion of a career in acting. So she wanted him to be like a doctor, a lawyer, something sensible.
Like as a mother wants their child to be something successful that they can live their lives when they're not there no more.
But also Greg, in his book, he also mentions that the way that she went about to discourage him from being an actor was like the wrong way, because like she was like very kind of like aggressive. Like she was aggressively against it. And so sometimes, like when parents are like so adamantly opposed to something that their children are doing, the children are going to want to do it more and more. So in a way, Greg sort of took that as a challenge to become an actor. So later on, when Greg is a high school senior, he eventually gets an agent. He gets an agent, and the agent sends him off to Europe to do some modeling work. So Greg Sestero becomes a model for like around 6 months, I want to say. And he's in Europe, he's being a model. And when he comes back, he starts to go on auditions or tries to go on auditions. And so like the first things that he does as an actor is he's an extra on movies and TV. He was an extra in the Robin Williams movie Patch Adams. He was in the sci-fi movie Gattaca. And one of the most important things that he did at that time is that he was on an episode of this show called Nash Bridges, which was an episode that was popular in the 90s. So he goes on this show. He meets up with one of the actors who's on the episode with him. The actor informs him about his agent who's in LA. And so Greg Sestero looks up the agent, calls them, and he's looking to see how he could get represented by them. They tell him, oh, you need a resume, you need headshots, and you need a demo reel. And they told him, once you have that, give us a call. So he spends like the next few months building up a resume, getting headshots done, and trying to get an agent. So the agent eventually calls Greg at his home, but his mom, not Greg, picks up the phone, and his mom was extremely rude to the agent and the agent's assistant. And so this infuriates the agent, and the agent tells his mom, I don't want to work with your son anymore. Tell him to forget about it, and hangs it up. And, and then Greg just has he has sort of like this moment of defeat. So then he continues on to pursue his dream of becoming an actor. He takes some acting classes in San Francisco, and this is where he meets Tommy Wiseau. And as we saw in the movie The Disaster Artist, Tommy Wiseau was a very confident performer, but not a very good performer on stage. Because in an acting class, you're supposed to do scenes from a play, and the teacher has to critique and judge how you go about your play, your monologues, and your scenes. But Tommy Wiseau would never follow script. He would never follow the script. He would always do whatever he wanted, and he would just try to do everything at the most high, he would try to do everything so emotionally. He would try to do everything with passion, with a lot of passion, a lot of emotion, not sometimes, never worked on stage. But Greg was very fascinated by the confidence that Tommy Wiseau had on stage, because Greg even mentions in his book that he wasn't a very confident actor at the time, because he was just always being judged by the people in class, being judged by the people in his life, and he never seemed to have the right kind of encouragement. So when he meets up with Tommy Wiseau, they form a friendship, and Tommy is the only person who's encouraging him to pursue his dreams, which Greg appreciates a lot of it. And so through Tommy, he moves down to Los Angeles, and he starts to pursue his dream of being an actor. But actually, in the movie, it sort of shows that both Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero moved in at the same time. In real life, unfortunately, that's not how it happened. Greg actually moved into Tommy's apartment first, and he was in Hollywood for a few months working to get auditions. And actually, did you know? Actually, in the book, Greg tells a little story about when he first moved into Tommy's apartment. Tommy gave him the wrong key to his apartment. And so he wasn't able to get into the apartment. He calls Tommy and says, "Hey, Tommy, you gave me the wrong key." But Tommy was like, "No, Greg, is the key. It works. It's the right key." But obviously, he gave him the wrong key. So because of that, Greg had to spend the first night in LA in a cheap motel.
Wow.
In a cheap motel in a seedy part of Los Angeles, because that's all that he could afford. And so that's how he spent the first night in LA. And so things start going good for Greg. Greg gets an agent. he starts to go on auditions. He meets with directors and other producers, and then finally he sort of gets his big break by starring in a movie called Retro Puppet Master, which is a straight to video horror movie. And so Greg goes to Europe once again to shoot the movie in Romania. They pay him $2,500 a week, which is the union scale. That's like the minimum that you can pay an actor who's in the union. So he goes there. He goes there for like a few months. He finishes the movie and comes back. But unfortunately, this isn't the big break that he thought that he was going to get, because soon after he starts getting less and less auditions, less and less callbacks, and he doesn't book anything until years later, when he's on a soap opera for a few episodes. And so Greg Sestero, he has like this moment, another moment of defeat, where like his career is not going anywhere. His relationship with Tommy is becoming more and more strained. Tommy becomes more possessive of him, and finally Tommy comes up with the idea to make his own movie. Greg originally was not the original actor for the movie, for Mark. There was another guy casted as Mark, but Tommy really wanted his best friend to be there with him in the movie. So they end up firing that guy, and Greg becomes the new Mark. And so this leads us to The Disaster Artist. So The Disaster Artist was a 2017 movie based on Greg Sestero's book, The Disaster Artist, and also based on the true story of the making of The Room. So let's start with you. What did you think about the movie that's based on the making of The Room?
I actually liked it a lot better than the actual movie, to be honest. Because,
of course, because it's an actual movie.
It was an actual movie, but it was less cringe. There was still cringe in it, but it was less enough for me to handle it a little bit more.
Yes.
And I also really liked the movie because it actually explains why the movie was being created in the first place. And after watching through the whole thing and seeing the ending, I actually got appreciation of the first movie. Because when I first saw just the movie itself without any details at all, I just thought it was very bad, very cringe, really like doesn't make sense at all. And then after watching it, and then in the movie being explained, and then my co-host explained to me, I actually got a little bit of appreciation from it, saying that they worked hard enough for this. It's not the result they wanted, but they still was a success.
Yeah, because nobody goes out to make a bad movie. Everybody who puts the time and effort to make something, they want it to come out good. And yeah, this movie definitely opens your eyes in seeing how something like this is being made. Like oftentimes the reason why like movies come out bad is because it just comes down to like the leadership of it, the script, and how things are being taken, what's being taken seriously, what's not being taken seriously, and just like the overall effort that people put in to making the movie, and also experience and expertise, like how much experience you have making these kinds of projects. But yeah, anything else that you want to mention about The Disaster Artist before we continue on with that movie?
No, not in the current moment.
All right,
my brain is at a blank right now.
So the movie The Disaster Artist, it's directed by James Franco, which is also the actor who played Tommy Wiseau. So both movies are being directed by the main star. So that's kind of like a weird sort of like little parallel that both movies have. They're both being directed by the guy who's starring in it. And then also this movie, The Disaster Artist, a lot of the people who are in this movie are friends and relatives of James Franco. For example, Greg is played by James Franco's real life brother, Dave Franco.
Really?
And, yeah. And there's a character in this movie named Amber who plays Greg Sestero's girlfriend. And that's actually played by Dave Franco's real life wife, Alison Brie.
So
So those two are related to James Franco, the director. Seth Rogen obviously is a longtime friend and collaborator of not Tommy Wiseau of James Franco, and then a lot of the smaller parts in the movies are all played by celebrities who either have worked with Seth Rogen and James Franco, or,
yes.
or who are just like just celebrities, professional actors who are just known in Hollywood.
Yes, now I remember. Disaster Artist has a lot of famous people in here.
Even
A
in
lot.
even in the beginning of the movie, there's like a little interview part where they interview certain celebrities at the beginning of the movie before the movie starts. So you see like people like Kevin Smith, who is famous for playing Silent Bob in the Jay and Silent Bob movies. You see Kristen Bell, who is the voice of Anna from Frozen. J.J. Abrams, the director of Star Trek. So you see like a lot of famous people talk about like how much they love this movie. And yeah, the movie and The Room is a very popular movie amongst people in Hollywood because, like I said, Tommy Wiseau had a billboard in Hollywood for many years. And so obviously people who work in movies and television are going to see that while they're driving in LA. And they're going to be like, what the heck is this thing? The Room? So the movie basically tells the story of like how Greg and Tommy met, what led to them becoming roommates, and what led to them wanting to make their own movie to break into Hollywood.
Because in the beginning, they were having a very hard time trying to get a part in a movie show or whatever. They were having difficulties getting.
They would audition, but constantly get rejected, and so the movie one thing that the movie does is that it condenses the story of like how all this happened, because the movie starts off with Greg and Tommy in the acting class, which I thought was a very clever way to start the movie. Like start the movie where they actually meet, which is a good way to introduce
when they became best friends.
Yeah, so it's a good way to introduce how they met and who these characters are. But one thing that the movie does is that it shortens that period of time into a single night, even though in real life it took several classes for them to actually, become scene partners and want to rehearse a scene together. Later in the movie, we actually get this scene where they're in a restaurant and they are actually rehearsing their scene while they're in the restaurant, disturbing everybody in the restaurant
eating. And when they were done doing their acting, everyone clapped. But in reality, my co-host told me that they were actually kicked out because it was disturbing everybody.
Well, they weren't like kicked out, but like it was very embarrassing. It was very embarrassing because even in the book, Greg says that this was like he realized that Tommy just knew how he he said that he realized that Tommy really knew how to to really embarrass him a lot, but that actually did happen in real life where they rehearsed in a restaurant, and so the movie condenses a lot of what happened. Also, Greg's mom in the movie is not French like in real life. Greg's mom is portrayed as American, not French, because she's being played by a non-French actress or an actress who can't do like a French accent. But also this actress, her name is Megan Mullally, who you might remember from like the show Will and Grace. They decided to go with a famous actress instead of maybe getting somebody who actually fit the description of Greg's mom. So there's like a lot of differences between what actually happened and what actually happened in real life and what happened in the movie, which can maybe annoy some people. I knew that I did feel like a bit annoyed when I originally saw this movie in the theater because I actually went to see it in the theater.
It was theater first?
Yeah, so The Disaster Artist, it came out in 2017 and it was released in the fall of 2017. And I actually went to Walnut Creek to watch the movie. So I actually watched the movie where it took place, kind of, sort of. So I went to Walnut Creek to watch a movie about a guy from Walnut Creek.
Ha!
So that's kind of funny. So yeah, so the movie really just like jumbles a lot of things around, but really the heart of the movie is the making of The Room, and those scenes I do like quite a bit of how they handle or how they show like the behind the scenes like craziness that happened. How did you feel watching the scenes being like shot and filmed like in the Disaster Artist? Like, was it weird for you to like rewatch these scenes in a different light?
It was weird because I already saw the original movie, and then them doing it again with the actors they have. It was like rewatching Cringe, but just by different people.
But did it give you like a different perspective of like how of like what the actors went through to actually like get like the scene to get the scene that you saw shot? Like for
Yes,
example,
it was actually like respect. It was actually giving them that movie respect for actually redoing the exact scenes they were doing.
yeah, because like one scene that the Disaster Artist does really well is that it illustrates the scene of Tommy, like in that famous scene where he's saying, "No, I did not hit her. I did not." That scene again. It took them 3 hours to shoot that one scene, and in the movie they show how like Tommy just kept messing up the scene and the dialogue, and he just wouldn't get it right.
Even though he is the one who wrote it down
Yeah,
himself, he
he's
cannot even get it right himself.
he's the writer of this dialogue, but he can't get it right. And that was actually a problem that Tommy had throughout the movie, not just that one scene. He couldn't remember his lines, he would make up lines, and it was very frustrating for the crew because they would be stuck doing the same scene over and over and over again. And it's like, come on, dude, you wrote this shit. Yeah. What? Let me ask you this: what did you think of James Franco, his portrayal of Tommy? Did you think he did a good job playing Tommy Wiseau?
Yeah, he did a really good job.
All right. Did you like his accent? Did you like what did you like about his performance?
I like how he tried to stay as the same character from the movie. From the movie.
Yeah. What about the other actors? Was there like another performance that you really liked?
Okay, let's see. Oh, there was one. You were talking about this guy's girlfriend,
Yeah.
saying that in the movie she's sweet and everything, but in real life she was actually like controlling and doesn't really like him.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like how they change her story just to make the movie more happier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Definitely, the movie does things to make the story fit more the mold of a Hollywood movie because it does put in a lot of humor. It puts in a lot of humor in the movie, and it sort of takes out like the more tragic parts of the movie, which kind of did annoy me because there's certain things that the movie does to create drama where they didn't need to create drama because the drama that happened in real life was already that dramatic. There was this one scene that I really hate watching when I rewatch The Disaster Artist. And
Which one?
And there's a scene near the end where the character Greg Sestero and his girlfriend they meet up with a real life actor who's actually played by the actual actor. They meet up with Bryan Cranston, and at the time Bryan Cranston was on a show called Malcolm in the Middle. And he mentions,
Oh, that one. You really hated that one.
I really hate it because it's so fake, because none of it is real and it's not genuine. So they meet up. So in the movie, they meet up with Bryan Cranston, who's playing a 2003 version of himself. And he mentions to Greg, and he tells him, "Hey, I'm going to be directing an episode of Malcolm in the Middle, and I need you to play a lumberjack because there's a scene where the boys get lost in the woods, and the parents have to look for them. And so he needs somebody to play this lumberjack. And because Greg Sestero has this beard, he looks like a lumberjack. He later goes on to tell Tommy, "Hey Tommy, I need these 2 days off so that I can play this part on Malcolm in the Middle." But because Tommy is so possessive of him, and he doesn't want him to go off and do his own thing, he refuses to let Greg take the day off so that he can play this role in Malcolm in the Middle. Plus, he wants Greg to shave off his beard because later in the movie they're going to do the clean-shaven Mark reveal like they did in the original movie.
With the tuxedos and them playing football.
Yeah, exactly. And this movie does well. And so my problem with this one scene is that it's not real. None of this ever happened. Greg Sestero never met Bryan Cranston at like a cafe. Two, the episode that Bryan Cranston is telling Greg that he's shooting is not a real episode. There is no episode of Malcolm in the Middle where the boys get lost in the woods and Hal and Lois have to go look for them and they run into a lumberjack. There's never an episode like that. There's an episode in Malcolm in the Middle where the boys and their dad get lost in the desert, but that's it. That's like the closest that they ever got to that. So there is no episode like that. I've seen Malcolm in the Middle at least, from beginning to end at least 3 or 5 times. So there is no episode like that. And I think the only reason why they had that actor in that movie is because James Franco just wanted to put all of his friends in the movie, because this movie is just filled to the brim with celebrities. And I get the feeling that a reason why a lot of these celebrities are in the movie is because they're friends with Seth Rogen and James Franco. Like, for example, Chris R., the actor that they got to play Chris R. in the Disaster Artist is Zac Efron. And at the time, Seth Rogen had just made 2 movies with Zac Efron. So, of course, they're going to put him in the movie, which, he didn't do a bad job. I actually like the way that he played Chris R. I think he was able to, mimic him very well. But, I just got the feeling that they changed a lot of things because they just wanted to put their friends in the movie. And it just frustrated me because the drama, that there was already a lot of drama happening on that set.
It didn't really need more.
And it didn't need it. Because there were so many crazy things that happened. Like, for example, people were being constantly fired and hired on that set.
Oh yeah, my co-host told me because he told me it didn't really show in the movie. It showed that during that time he fired all the cast the total of 3 times. The first one he fired because they were at what was the reason?
So not the cast. He fired So first, he fired the original Mark because he didn't want him to be Mark. He wanted Greg Sestero to be Mark. So he ended up firing him, and he fired the girlfriend of the guy because she was also in the movie. She played the best friend Michelle. So they end up hiring 2 other actors. Well, they end up hiring another actress to play Michelle. Later on in the production, Tommy Wiseau ends up firing the original director of photography, the cameraman. His name was Raphael Smadja. He ends up firing him because Smadja says that he would quit if Tommy didn't get a proper line producer. So what a line producer is the person who handles the day-to-day operations of a set. So a line producer basically does all the jobs that the creative people don't want to do. So a line producer, maybe he orders the food for the cast and crew. He makes sure people get paid on time. Line producers make up the schedule and the call sheet. And so they do all of the things, all the practical stuff that the creative people don't want to do, and that is a very important role on a set because you need somebody to be on top of all that stuff. At the time, Greg Sestero, who was also playing the role of Mark, he was also in the movie, but he couldn't handle the weight of doing 2 important roles on a movie set, which is not the way that you should do it. You should have one dedicated person doing each job and not making everybody do other people's jobs. So because of that, Raphael Smadja ended up quitting the movie. His crew left with him, and so Tommy had to hire a different crew. They end up getting a different crew of people. This time it was a guy named Todd Barron. So Todd Barron became no, not Todd Barron. No, it was this guy named Graham. So they hired this new DP and his crew. But later they end up quitting the movie because Tommy wouldn't buy them or rent them a generator. And that was a big problem on set because every time a piece of equipment would run out of battery power, they would have to recharge the piece of equipment, but it would be more faster and more efficient if they had a generator. But Tommy wouldn't pay for a generator, and so they ended up leaving. Then later Tommy runs into this guy who agrees to work for him for very little money, and he's willing to work in non-professional circumstances or conditions. So he and Tommy get along much better. So yeah, but there was like a lot of drama on the movie. Also, Tommy almost got the shit beaten out of him by the crew at one time.
Really? What happened?
Like in the book, so when the original director of photography chose to quit, his crew followed him. But the crew didn't want to quit without being paid first. So they go to Tommy telling him, "Hey, pay us for the rest of the day so that we can leave." But Tommy, being all butthurt, was like, "No, I am not paying you. Not at all." And so they almost riot. They almost cause like a scene, and they almost beat the shit out of Tommy. And then later, Greg ended up driving over to Tommy's apartment, picking up his checkbook, and he started writing checks for the crew so that they wouldn't beat the shit out of Tommy.
Damn, man.
And so they did not include that in the movie, The Disaster Artist. But there was like a lot of drama on that movie set, and it surprises me that they left out so much drama that happened, and they could have used that for the movie instead of making up all this fake shit.
Honestly, I think that would have been better if they added that.
Yeah.
Because I honestly would love to see some realism.
Exactly. But yeah. So the Disaster Artist is, I will say this, if you do end up watching it, it is a well-made movie. But just like, if you want to really learn what happened to the behind the scenes of The Room, I'd say definitely check out Greg Sestero's book, The Disaster Artist. Buy it. Like, you can go to a bookstore, buy the physical copy, or you can go to audible.com or what have you and buy the audiobook, because the audiobook is actually narrated by Greg Sestero himself. And he does a really good Tommy Wiseau impression. So he actually does, when he's reading the words that Tommy said to him, he reads them in Tommy's accent. So he does a really good impression. And yeah, so The Disaster Artist, again, it's a nicely made movie. It tells a lot of the key important parts of the story of The Room, but some things it just doesn't get right, and some of those things just kind of like rub me the wrong way. But anyways, what did you think of any last thoughts of The Disaster Artist, the movie?
The Disaster Artist was actually good because it actually gave me some background of why the room was made. It actually made me really appreciate the room more. And seeing how he wanted to be a star, but he keeps failing and didn't want to be the role that people say to put him in a role, because he wanted to be the hero. He wanted to be the star right away.
Yeah.
But because he wasn't being realistic, he never got a chance to be in that kind of role.
Yeah. Well, you bring up something very important that I think a lot of people should know. One of the reasons why I recommend the book, The Disaster Artist, is that one of the lessons that I took from this book, it really helps to illustrate how tough it is to really like break into like Hollywood and break into movies, because you really because Greg Sestero does go into detail of his journey, going through auditions, getting an agent, becoming part of the union and everything. And it just really shows like the obstacles that one has to face in order for them to become like a big movie star. And so also you learn like a lot of lessons, because in the movie The Disaster Artist, there's like times where like characters tell Tommy, "Oh, Tommy, you look like Frankenstein. You act like a villain." And so I think that maybe if somebody like Tommy wanted to become like a successful actor, he should have maybe followed their advice, and maybe instead of trying to play the hero, he maybe should have gone out for like villain roles or like creature roles, stuff like that, stuff that would fit like his look and his level of talent. Because have you ever heard of a thing called a character actor?
Yes. a person that does the same role over and over again in different movies.
Yeah, exactly. So you have like certain characters who only play like a certain type of character, but they play it really well. Like if you notice like in a lot of like movies and TV shows, there's like actors who are really good at playing police officers, characters who are really good at playing authority figures, characters who are really good at playing villains. So you'll always see them in this one role. And then a lot of actors do have a lot of they do have a long career playing this because they play this role very well. And so maybe if like I say, people who want to be like actors or directors, if they want to be more realistic and have a long career, they should be realistic of like what the things that the industry is looking for. Because for like a lot of directors, they start off not making like, you know, the movies that they want to make. They end up making movies that Hollywood wants to make. For example, a lot of like indie directors, they start off making horror movies. Because horror movies are an easy type of movie to sell to audiences. And because sometimes if you make like a serious dramatic movie about like your parents' divorce or something, that's not really going to sell. That's not really going to get butts in seats. But a horror movie is easy for people to get people's attention. Also, like in the book, The Disaster Artist, Greg describes Tommy's wardrobe, the way that he's dressed, that he's sort of dressed like a 90s action villain. You know, like the kinds of villains that you would see in like a Sylvester Stallone or like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, like the kinds of henchmen that would be carrying around guns or something.
Yeah.
Like Tommy could have had like a pretty nice career playing, say, like thug number 1, henchman number 2, something like that. Like
head thug.
Or head thug. You know, he would probably have like a good career, like, you know, being like one of the thugs in an action movie carrying like an Uzi or something, you know? Exactly. He could have had like a good career, because sometimes you have to be sort of realistic about how you're going to go about like your career, because, you know, you sort of have to fit a mold. You have to find your space, your niche. And that's actually one thing that they don't really tell you in like film schools or acting classes. They fill your head with like a lot of like false promises and like a lot of like romanticized dreams, but they never really tell it to you straight. They don't ever say like, look, you got to do this and this and this, and that's how you get people to notice you, or that's how you get consistent work. They just don't. They just don't tell you that. Because I think also people don't want to know the truth. People want a comfortable lie instead of like the hard truth.
A lot of people lie to themselves to go on everyday lives.
Yeah.
Because they say, all right, everything's going to be great. Everything's going all right. And then when they go out to the world, everything always goes wrong with them.
Yeah. Because
like something like saying like, oh, it's going to be good at work today. Goes terribly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm going to get a great straight A. I'm going to get A's on my test. Gets B's or F's. Like, you had to lie to yourself at a certain point to be able to continue moving and go for a goal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, so like if you are a person who wants to like be in a creative career, definitely read The Disaster Artist, because The Disaster Artist is a good sort of like cautionary tale about like the dangers of like not being true to yourself, being delusional, and, you know, just trying to like, you know, take shortcuts. Because like the way that you become like, say, like a star or a very successful person, you got to put in the work and you got to know what people like. That's the way to do it.
There are never shortcuts in life. You must work for your success and achievements.
But anyways, any last thoughts on The Room / The Disaster Artist?
I really enjoyed this very much. I cringe a lot for the first half, not gonna lie. But after the second half, I really enjoyed the movie now. Now seeing it again, I will still cringe, but I now will understand that what they did was because they wanted to become something. They worked hard to get to this part. They worked hard to try to be someone. They wanted to be stars, in which they did get it, but in some degree.
But in not the way that they expected.
Yeah, and not in the way they expected. So I really enjoyed this. If I was going to give it a rating out of 10, I'll give it a good solid 7.
Mm-hmm.
I would write it higher, but if I wasn't so cringy about it. But
Yeah.
I give it a good 7 because after watching all of it, I actually appreciate it. My rate was gonna be my score was gonna be way lower, but
Mhm.
after watching The Disaster Artist, I raised it up because I now appreciate the movie.
Yeah. Okay. So here's my rating. So I'm gonna start off with The Room. So in terms of enjoyability, comedic value, I'll give it a solid 10 out of 10. For
Of
me,
course you will.
for me, it's a funny. But if I'm gonna be realistic, the movie is definitely a 1 star, a 1 out of 10. It really, like, in terms of it being a good movie, there's not that much there. But The Disaster Artist, it's a much more professionally made movie with good performances and a pretty okay script. I still have my problems with this movie, but I do feel that the book is a solid like 9 out of 10. But the movie based on the book, I'm gonna maybe anger some people. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 for The Disaster Artist because I just can't forgive it for the sins that it
For the
committed.
sins they had committed.
Yeah.
Do
Uh,
it.
But anyways, so this is our review of The Room / The Disaster Artist. If you guys seen the movies or read the book, tell us down in the comments what you think of it. Ryu and I are on social media. This podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else that you listen to your podcasts. We're on Letterboxd, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. And so follow us on all the social medias. My lovely, lovely co-host has a Twitch channel. Go ahead and tell them about your channel.
Come and check me on Twitch/Dragon9074. Come and talk to me. I'm basically playing story-based games, but I also play games with other friends as well. If you want to ask questions about the podcast or recommend things for the podcast, and we didn't see it while in our future episodes, if you want us to review it, just let me know so I can let my co-host know that hey, one of my chat told me about this anime or about this movie. You want to try watching it out, and we watch it when we got the time. So yeah, come check me out if you want to have a conversation with me and watch me play games.
All right. Yeah. We also have a Patreon. If you subscribe to our Patreon for $3 a month, you'll get these episodes early. Later on down the road, we're gonna have some merch, some awesome stickers, hopefully some T-shirts, and we'll see down the line. But continue to support us. Give us a like, share it with your friends, comment down below, and just show us some love. And thanks for watching. And our next episode is gonna be.
Well, I wasn't ready. Let me get it out. Ah!
Nah, you poopy head.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't get it out. I wasn't ready. All right.
I don't have it on my phone. Fuck.
The next episode is gonna be The Rising of the Shield Hero, which is my favorite one. It really gets into some very hard topics.
All right then.
So I hope if you guys seen the anime, you know what we're gonna get into. I already seen season 1 and 2, so I'm excited.
Okay then. So make sure to check out that anime for the next episode, and we'll check you out on the next one. All right.
Hope you guys enjoy. Please like and subscribe and share it to your friends. And we'll see you guys in the next podcast.